the end of the season of confessions. This morning I wake to furious pounding on the front door. Rachel is already talking to Grizz and Horatio by the time I get downstairs. Okay. I'm Rachel Landau. I believe you know Archibald Reed, the doctor. Well enough to know he didn't kill anyone. I'm not certain of that. My brother was certainly dead. You were quick to make accusations. Come to ask your help, and maybe to free your friend as well. So I'd best not let myself be drawn. Enough away freeing Archie. I think David might not be, that is, I think he may not be dead anymore. Yeah, that happens in the 8th. I keep having dreams that David is awake in his coffin. I can barely close my eyes without thinking of it. If I don't dig him up and make sure, I'll never have any peace. So you've come to us to help dig up your brother's coffin. Yes. I have a shovel in the basement, mostly for a coal, but it will do. Yes, suggest you ask Harji. Or... No, Harji. Want to ask Constable Singh for help? I don't know, it seems a bit too big a risk. He might decide it was against the law. And if he thought that, then he might get in our way. We're Archie's friends, and you want his name cleared. We have reason to try to find David alive, even if I mean nothing to. As though to say she knows there is more between us than that, even if she doesn't choose to say so in front of anyone else. Yeah, let's take the opportunity to look for evidence. The condition of the corpse might reveal something about the drug used. I get a good look at that, I'll have an easier time with the rest of the inquiry. I'll help you. Thanks, citizen. A fresh mound of earth. Sure, this is the one. It's not marked. I left these stones. Dig. Your own term, he needs a hand from each of us. Struck the bottom at last, Grizz climbs into the grave. Well, been a few days, aye? Grizz calls up from below. David is still deceased. You're sure? Condition. Propose an ingenious way of checking. And let's just check myself. Mind if I come down? Oh, are we going to get an actual illustration of the body? That's interesting. This corpse is definitely a corpse. I'm not sure what I expected to feel in its presence. Not this. Look close. No image then. Okay. Lips are green tinged, the muscles of the face contorted, the fingers twisted. No sense of an intelligence departed or a spirit gone. Does not give the offensive sense that someone who should be here is not feel like one's arrived too late. Keep looking. The more I look, the more I'm sure this thing has never been alive at all. I do not smell decay, but there is a pale, cloying scent like lilies grown in muck. The sense grows on me that if I touch him again, his eyes will open. It will not be David Landau looking at me. I really want to push it. Just where the hairline meets the brow is a line of 4 tiny sigils. I can barely make them out even with a light. From above, she calls me concern. I touch a sigil with the tip of my finger and flinch back. The touch of it stings. I've smeared it a little, I think. Does the corpse face look different now than it did? Citizen! You're hoping to find David alive down there. He isn't. I say the sigils are part of burial preparation. Say I'm not sure the corpse is. Those are both very. Wait a minute. mask. This sounds like a clay man. Scissors on the forehead. Doesn't look like it was ever alive. That is definitely a clay man down there. That's not David. Not sure it's David in there. Think the body's been snatched and replaced? A grave robber might take a body, but surely they'd not leave someone else's behind. The sense I had. The dead don't seem like themselves. I saw my father's laid out before burial. But he's not awake. No. Not altogether sure I'd want him to be. Milton said once that the laws of life and death down here are not as they were above. So I thought, I don't know. Whatever he implied, your brother isn't returning. It's most likely a mistake. I believe Mr. Mirrors is to blame for sending drugs. No, I'm insisting on the strangeness of it. Might not have found alive even in the grave, but I'm still not sure at all sure we found his corpse. Since him, then we probably don't want to meddle with whatever it is. One thing I've learned at the ministry, there are things down here that resemble people, but are not people. Not even counting the devils. He can go. I'm sorry, it was foolish of me to think it could be anything. Okay. Company had a shock. Okay. Maybe guests. Yes, don't worry about refreshments. I had you digging up graves. The least I can do is offer a pot of tea. I'll be asleep. Oh, hi, David. Hello, I let myself in. You were dead! I was. And now you aren't. Not for the past couple hours. It took a little time to return. Then you weren't here. Curiosity. How is this possible? I was truly dead, and I have returned. Paths of life and death are not as they are on the surface. That is the only explanation I can find. The question of the grave remains alarming. There was a corpse there, and you don't much resemble it. I didn't awaken my grave. I came to myself standing in the midst of London. At one moment I was crossing the last river, and then the boatman put me back ashore. Sigil corpse. That's a horse with the sigils on it. It may not be David's body, but it surely is connected with this. I am not returning to dig it up a second time. Hands are raw. I have more mysteries than I can manage already. As far as I'm concerned, it was a malevolent, practical joke. I don't need to know by who. If it was man-made, it's still a very strange creation. There may be others we can ask. People who know more about this kind of matter. I don't believe I have the pleasure of your acquaintance, Miss Smith. I am a clerk at the Ministry of Accounting and Recounting. I was helping Miss Landau. We were trying to dig up your corpse. You were alive. You were trapped in there. I knew it might only be. Dreamed it again and again so vividly. We should make a list of what to do. I will alert the Ministry that death appears not to be going as usual. Someone needs to inform Harjeet that Mr. Landau is not dead, and therefore Archie is not a murderer. Someone did murder me. I was poisoned. It was excruciating. He really was completely dead. He isn't dead now, so therefore that is not a murder. Whoever did it might try it again. I can't be sure it wouldn't work. Believe me, I still very much want to know who the culprit was. I'd rather hoped you might know who did it. For anything that might exonerate Archie, lighten the mood as much as possible, listen with foolish curiosity. Okay. Just try to exonerate Archie. That is my main goal here right now. Watch David closely. I hardly ate anything that day, only the medicine that Archie brought me. I wasn't feeling well from the beginning, so I stayed in my room. There is quite a parade of visitors in the parlor I collect. A parade? I had Ivy Fitzclare here working on a fitting. She is hardly a visitor, and we are not in the parlor for the most part, though she may have passed through. So who was here then? So Miss Fitzclare was here on the last day. And Archie visited, we know that, as you blamed him for the poisoning. Rachel and Phoebe were at home. And I believe I heard Milton's sticky tones through 3 sets of doors. Milton did pay a morning call. It was not long, and I was preoccupied with Ivy. I held a brief conversation with him and then excused myself. He spoke with Phoebe for a few minutes and then departed again, I believe. You ate nothing, David. No, only Archie's medicine. No drinks. No tea with a bitter flavor and a gritty texture at the bottom of the cup. I would certainly have refused. I thought as much. One always has the sense of poisoning, being especially unobservant. And when Archie was with you, he didn't do anything strange? Nothing to make you think he had a sinister intention? No, his bedside manner was much the usual. He had moments of melancholy. He often spoke of being homesick. But otherwise, he only showed a concern to see that I was better. Although the flavor of the medicine that day was a trifle different. Or like other ordinary medicines I'd had before. He said it was a change of the ingredients available, and that he'd had to compound his own down here. That's a little troubling now I thought of it. More than a little. I'm sure it's only a coincidence and the meaning was just what Archie said it was. We should go home and leave you to your conversation. I imagine there's a great deal to say at such a reunion. You will let Constable Singh know that the murderer is no longer a murderer. I wouldn't want the matter to be dropped. It would be the most grotesque miscarriage of justice to hang a man for murder when he did no such thing and his victim is still walking around London. I will tell Constable Singh. Gracious. He came to us for help. It would help us free Archie. It's true, I did. Pray, honor that commitment. That was a rash promise. It seemed reasonable, and I needed help. You see any of our cousins agreeing to come down and take a turn with the shovel? No, especially not the Landau cousins. Such a betrayal of tradition. But thank you, and give my thanks to Miss Smith as well. Truly a great assistance in a terrible time. If it was Archie who gave the fatal dose, then something will have to be done. But of course, we'll say it wasn't murder. Say it wasn't. Okay, yep, and that's the entire day. Hey, since we did kind of do a lot. Rachel Landau has sent a note of thanks. Wait a few days before paying a visit. There is no rule for how soon to visit the deceased after they return to life. You'll need to recover. Never mind. At least Archie will be home soon. Yeah, I get the feeling that's not going to happen. Yep. Not returned. Never comes to eat it. After 4 days, Grizz argues her way out of doing it anymore on the grounds that I worked hard to pay my rent. And my contribution shouldn't be squandered on sentimental display. Judgment Day every season is freshly alien. Season of Confessions goes out, taking with it many helpful self-deceits. Yule brings the first full horror of the Neath. People stop pretending when an animal speaks that it was imagination. Dogs, it's true, still say very little. That is what passes for tact among dogs. Cats have no such compunctions. On the rooftops, they trade in human secrets, and their side glances dare us to object. Hypocritical gossips that we are. And now it is day 291. 7 days remaining in the season of Yule. Oh, snow. Let's see here. It's as I explained to Horatia and Lady Griselda. By the terms of the law, the murder was still committed. Later, Inquisitor. Right. Discard sheet about Archie's condition. Don't interrupt. Let's not interrupt. Let's let him finish. The trial will still be held just before Christmas. There's nothing I can do. Nothing the Landaus can do either. Miss Landau did send a letter to the court to explain her brother's change of circumstance. Oh, don't free him whatever the inquest said. That would be a encourage him to go against his view. So it's not. That simplifies having no choice. I know it didn't look good for Archie. There's no one else who could easily have done the poisoning, and no question that it was poison that killed David. You didn't see his room. The corpse, the aftermath of death was everywhere. But it still seems strange to me that Archie would have done it. Archie will be tried if we can account for his innocence. He may be freed. If you find evidence that someone else was involved, they may be added to the trial. If you find anything, if you have a good explanation for how it wasn't Archie. Remembrance to him, find a higher power, decide to break him out. Oh man. That sounds like fun, but I'm going the investigation route, so I'll bring him the evidence. You'll be the first to know. Thank you. I'll need to craft my theories the way Archie showed me. Yeah, I figured that was going to be where this is going. If I can't build a finished plan, I'll at least be able to come up with some hypotheses. Crafting theories about an unknown motive or method will give me the right questions and let me get answers out of people. The more I learn, the more I'll be able to refine what I ask or the accusations I'm ready to make. I am always glad to visit Archie on the HMS Ungulate with you. Ooh. Feelings for his lost lover? A new destination? But let's ask about destinations. Cavern of Tentacle. And this Eradicator shop. Parliament sunken to Devil's Townhouse. That would let me go to Milton. That would let me do a thing with... That would help me along with Horatia's thing. I think that is me trying to find Archie's publisher, because he did mention something about the Menace Eradicator early on. I mean, right now, Milton is connected to David. David did not like Milton. Possible motive? I might need to know where he is. Do that. Have you seen any devils? If by that you mean the people with yellow eyes. Yes. They have taken over a townhouse that way. You can see them coming and going sometimes. The occasional vicar standing outside to stare in. So we walk together, and every few moments Hajit stops to point out a landmark, or draw my attention to places where the air smells different, or the sound of church bells can be heard. They say this place is inhabited by devils, or alternatively, people with yellow eyes and a warm handshake. Rajit takes a look at the devil's doorstep and raises his eyebrows. It's plain he has no taste for this company, so I say goodbye and go on alone. Oh, I'm meeting immediately? Okay. Their door knocker is made of brass, unreasonably warm brass. And it is shaped like the head of a goat. The attendant is human enough, but she refuses to answer my questions. I wait in a very old-fashioned wooden chair. I keep feeling that the armrests are nipping at my wrists. I'm invited inside at last. A member of the constabulary. Constabulary, we do not require assistance. Milton will see you out. Your eye for detail has failed you, Virginia. Our visitor wears the badge of ministry and counting and recounting. I collect this as some official errand. I forgot to change my clothes. I didn't have a chance to change my clothes, so never mind. Yeah, let's gamble about the sense of humor. I like gambling about my dark sense of humor. Morgan. I go by Milton. I dislike foreign names. You may address me as Virginia or ma'am. Human at that, born of woman, lived under the sky. If you can't say the same, at least break the horrible truth with me gently. Well, we'll fall extremely still. I'm not sure they breathe. I am acquainted with the Landaus. I believe you know them as well. By reputation only, I assure you. The suspected murderer is being tried soon. I have taken up the task of, investigating. Ask Milton about his work. Ask about the purpose of this building. What sort of business is typically done here? Diplomacy, commerce. Contracts are written and signed. Gathering of information. Considers academic business. Of course, the contracts he's referring to would be the soul trade, and I believe that whispering noise I can kind of hear out of my right side of my headphones would be the souls in these bottles you see at the top right. Possibly. Is it an academic business? Oh, they're talking about contracts, so let's talk solicitors. Those who solicit. The term implies some engagement with the law. London law? An inferior product, I agree. We are not solicitors. This line of questions is proving more difficult than I anticipated. I am keen to hear about your business all the same. Feel the expectations of society. I mean, the whole thing earlier was that he's not good at that. He didn't know the proper expectations of mourning, for example. Let's make a joke. Keep giving answers like that, and this will take all day. Our secrets are the sort that would peel your skull from your brains. Wow. Yeah, devils, that makes sense, but that is one hell of a description. You've taken as much time as we can spare. If you come back, do try to have a good reason. You remains to be seen on Virginia. Okay. Let's see. Oh, do I have a chance? Yay, okay, first let's recall the past. I need more information from that. I don't need it, but I want it. It's like before, when we all lived in a world of day and night, winter and summer. Riz kept her distance from the lodgers and wore gowns. There was enough food on the table, and it wasn't always the same. Sometimes I can't get my memory to go back further than the night of the fall. Preparations were different before. Horatia and Grizz were less comfortable together. After the fall, there was a time I didn't go to. Look, let's think about the Christmas preparations. What morbid thing are you reading now? It's the Illustrated London News. That's worse. What have they got this time? Engravings of the latest executions. The crowd gathered to see the deaths. Like that again? They don't hang as many people as they used to. At least Archie isn't accused. They don't hang people. Fewer crimes are punished with death, but murder is still one of them unless the monarch intervenes. I doubt we can count on the Queen to commute Archie's sentence if he is found guilty. It's the Queen with Prince Albert and the children and a Christmas tree. Ah, they're sending that round again, are they? Then, as I recall, she took the picture and put it up in the frame of a mirror for decoration. Let's build a story. Okay, so an unknown performed the murderous act. Individual of undetermined identity acts as an accomplice, or a hidden hand behind the method. Envenomed post, tainted drug, unknown. Venomed post could be. He did have mail. Tainted drug would kind of lock it in with Archie. Say, I mentioned earlier, I'm suspecting Milton. Milton, for some reason, committed the murder. Rachel acted as an accomplice or hidden hand. Maybe. Fought over Milton. Saw him as an impediment. No. David. David did offer some provocation. Milton then took some action. So, an unknown possibly wealth. Let's go for wealth. Let's see. Bought rare ingredients. Provided about a fair experiment. Treatment. No, none of that really. Then, oh, go with unknown purpose. Okay, so Milton most of all wished for unknown benefits. David for Milton to fail in pursuits of Rachel, which makes sense. But none of that makes sense. We don't get from that. Eggs, pastures. If it died, okay, Milton abused the services of the royal post. Okay. Vengeance, maybe? Yep, that makes sense. Had no choice. Ah, there we go. New investigation theory crafted. Question of motive. Yep, so For some unknown purpose, Milton bought rare ingredients. David made false promises, deceiving and betraying. Well, that really, well, maybe. Then Milton blamed David for every misfortune. Sent Landos a letter infused with a deadly toxin. Possibly. I mean, hey, question of motive. That I have that now. Let me go ahead and put a few other things. See if I can. Archie. Archie intentionally wanted to save patients and bought where ingredients experimented with drugs. Wanted health. Took treatment. Actually presented display of hypochondria. No. Sedation? No. Yeah, that would all point to Archie doing things intentionally, but no, we don't want that. We want. I still want to investigate milk. So let's go. I don't know if we have to have everything back, but see, he also had unknown purpose. We can get something there. What else we can? Somewhat. Unknown person with an unknown purpose. Maybe. Novelize the affair would be. Let's see. Rachel. Thoughtless relationship, hope, wealth could. A scandal. And novelize the affair. Confided about affair. Novelize. Had no choice. Mourn. That would suggest that Milton didn't actually want to kill David. He wanted to kill Rachel. Maybe. Now let's just keep going with the idea of David died. Agents fought over Milton. And fought Milton about Milton. No, fought over Rachel. David for Milton wished for unknown benefits. David for Milton to fail in pursuit of Rachel. Bought some rare ingredients to make the poison, possibly. I had no choice. Let's just stick with that for now. We have the story where we need to find Milton's motive. Outfit, get this corsage on. Actually, do Devil's Townhouse. Interview Ivy about Milton as a suspect. Ask David about any motives for Milton. A good place to start. Morgan, it's good to see you. In the Ministry's collection of old currency. Sure. Small talk. I recount the newspaper story. Ministry of Accounting and Recounting wants to take old currency out of circulation. Oh? Currencies from other countries are also accepted, although at a lower rate of exchange. Make the story as engaged as I can, plenty of detail, fair sprinkling of dramatic pauses. I try to stay out of politics. A lesson from my father, though perhaps in a new age. Lightly to news. I laugh with this. It strikes me that I know very little of your own family. Vent a story of my elevation or boast of difficult childhood. Let's invent a story, sure. I used to dine with Lord Palmerston before the fall. He consulted me on matters of state confidentially. Do you actually believe me? Okay. Let's ask some questions. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the murder? There are some things I don't understand. Better you than the news hounds, perhaps. But I'd still like to know what you think you can do with the answers. He's innocent. Talk about upholding the law. Yeah, let's talk. Yeah, I think you that one. The law is cracked somewhat. Requires a touch of volunteer assistance. There are uniformed constables now for good reason. It doesn't fall to every citizen to try and enforce the Queen's order. I'm not just any citizen. I have a reason to be interested, and at the same time, I am not especially close either to you or to your sister. I am more impartial than your friends could be. I understand the Ministry will punish dishonesty. I trust you'll make good use of what I tell you. No gossiping, no scandal-mongering, only use it in the cause of truth. After that, miss me as a weakling or a fool, so be it. About Milton's. Were matters between you and Milton so bad that he would have killed you? It's true, I did not like him, and once I asked him what he intended towards Rachel. I've heard this. He did not seem angry. He didn't exactly answer me either. He said a few words that I did not understand. They hung in the air like a solid thing. There are folk tales about words of magical power. I found afterwards that I didn't want to ask him about Rachel again. He certainly wasn't afraid of me. He may not even have disliked me very much. Afterwards, I only argued with Rachel about Milton, rather than the other way around. Possible inheritance, maybe? Could this be a matter of money? Did you have success in business or come to an inheritance? You could say that, though it would be more accurate to say I came into a great deal of bother. The money was not immediately evident. I have a cousin, Isaac, on the surface. The cousin had estates near Brighton. In the ordinary course of things, I would not have expected ever to come into that money. He was not much older than I am, recently married. I had expected to wish him joy when his children were born, which I imagined to be in the near future. Instead, when mail service with the service resumed, we found notifications that he and his wife had both died. The estate comes to me if I could reach the surface to claim it. This may have displeased some of our other relatives. It will certainly have put Isaac's brother's nose out of joint. Morbid humor. Always go for the morbid humor. Right you are then. I see. I wait 2 beats. Tell the one about the cannibal baby. What? I really wish they would actually tell the jokes instead of just... what the hell is that joke? Do you have any enemies? I wonder where Charlotte Carringham's husband wanted to be rid of you. I need to trust someone, and at least I know you didn't kill me. I suppose Charlotte's husband may have been jealous if he knew about the letters that she wrote to me. Ooh, there is a new potential suspect in the nail poisoning case, I suppose. I burned them. I did not reply. And she wrote to me once more just before I died when the news of the surface had come. What if Lord Carringham suddenly somehow saw or got word of that letter? If he did, it must have reassured him. Or at least that letter would have made clear that I am not his rival. It was a final retraction of everything she said before, apologizing and withdrawing all her promises to leave him and come to me. She cloaked it all, but her meaning was clear. As soon as there was any chance of escaping back to the surface and living there in wealth and comfort, she was reconciled again to her decision. She wanted me more than she wanted a cold cavern with Carringham. But she wanted Carringham's estates on the surface more than either of us. Okay, the Morbid humor thing ain't working for me. It's not actually telling any jokes. What a despicable character. Reprehensible. She did not know herself well. Many people are mistaken about themselves. In other ways, I have done the same, or perhaps worse. You're kinder than I would be in a similar circumstance. Count the day of the murder. I was wondering whether you could tell me again what happened on the final day. You've heard it already, haven't you? Had been ill for days. I woke up late, not feeling well. That seamstress of Rachel's was already in the house. All the sounds were too loud that day. Phoebe's footstep on the stair might have been Hannibal's entourage coming over the Alps. I remember the bell ringing again for Milton, and again for Archibald. I was relieved when he turned up. His medicine had generally been a comfort to that point. We're sure there wasn't any matter of the heart that touches on this. You know about the Carringhams, Charlotte and her husband. The question sets loose another memory. I told Phoebe I was thinking about returning to the surface when we got word that passage had opened. I thought to build a passenger line, begin a limited company, and find investors. I was rambling about those ideas, more to Rachel than to her. I wouldn't expect someone of Phoebe's background to take great interest in my business dealings, and she never has done before. But she became distressed. Emotions of the lower classes, no. Private reason. Perhaps she has some cause to want to stay below. She suggested we all stay. I did tell her that she would not be required to come back with us if she didn't choose to. Do you know what it's like dying of poisoning? That's the part I can't speak about to Rachel or to anyone. Fortunately, it isn't what interests my visitors either. They want to talk about what comes afterward. The boat ride, the far shore, the great pale ice moths in the air. It's the suffering. I was still alive. It's what I can't get out of my head, even if I try not to think about it. Not flirting, and I don't want to go for the ice moths. Like, really don't want to talk about that. Guess we're going for the morbid humor after all. About the drowning mother. He isn't diverted, there's more he wants to say. Not a pleasant thing, dying. My head ached. My lungs were burning. Felt like there was a ball of fire in my gut. Then my body began to purge itself. I'll spare you the details. I think it must have been Phoebe who had taken to clean the place afterward. There is another indignity that I did that to her. Made her face such a thing, I mean. It's a terrible sensation when you realize that your body is destroying itself, that it's being damaged beyond repair, that you're going to die, but that you're nowhere near dead yet. Wasn't final, don't dwell on it. Eat this with black humor. I would encourage him not to dwell on it. That's probably for the best. I understand you don't need to speak about it anymore. The worst thing is remembering death. I wish I could forget just that. Just forget what it was like. I don't suppose that's one of the miracles of the Neath. The ability to put a memory in a safe and sink it to the bottom of the Z. If anyone does know something like that, it would be Archie, or perhaps Milton, not the people David would choose as confidants. Yeah, Milton would definitely know about that. I'll let him know if I hear of a way. Yeah. If I do hear of any way, I will let you know. Thank you. Don't worry, I don't expect you'll be able to. But if you did, I would be grateful. Help David forget death. Again, I don't want to flirt with him. Seems okay, but no. Again, he didn't want to talk about that. Let's ask about his sister occupation. Might as well get some more information there. Is it a strange business having an authoress for a sister? My sister is a very accomplished authoress. I have sometimes wondered whether that choice of occupation has been good for her. Why? The work takes a toll on her. The publisher is demanding. The public sends her all manner of letters. Some of these communications are harmless, but there are others that she takes painfully to heart. But it is too late to withdraw from the business now. My mother permitted Rachel's writing. While she was alive, I did not think I had a right to intervene. Now, it is too late. I cannot help being proud of Rachel when I read her work. But it has kept her thoughts busy and her hours occupied. She is still unmarried. If anything happens to me, I would have wanted her to have a safe household of her own. Perhaps she would even have married someone who lived outside the bounds of the city and been spared all this. Goodbye. Everything is always running too slowly, yet every day is the same. I do want to be his friend. Let's be friends, David. I grin. It's time to go home. Straight to the table. Whoop. Surface dweller wanted inheritance, told him inheritance, planned return to... Oh, that's another interesting idea. Brother would be out of it, so he wanted David not to inherit. Ultra's letter. Loved David and asked David to stay below. That would obviously be Phoebe. So it's suggesting that Phoebe loves David. I mean, the game doesn't allow you to play matchmaker. Maybe I should push that along. Horatia murmurs over her plate. A blessing, I think, for the food. For Archie, too. The vicar's got a new spring in his step. His sermon today was calling for practical action. He said something about faith alone not being enough. I'm no learned doctor of the church, but I feel we had a reformation over this very issue. Let's explore how this affects her feelings. Were you more drawn to him or less? I ought to say more, but I'm not sure it makes a difference. There was a fire in his belly I'd not seen before. His preaching was very red-faced. He's not ill, is he? I'll offer to look in on him. I could look in at St. Albans. That would be a kindness. I hope he isn't ill. I'm not going to St. Dunstan's for Sunday service. The vicar there has notions. Chew diligently. There are no more mushrooms on my plate. The day, we did cover quite a bit. Ask for help. David. Likeable, confident. Okay? Spoken of some difficult topics. Okay? Okay. Nothing much happened here. And yet, who is a stranger I met despite a preference of Theo. Only. Okay. Let's see. 292. Riz leaves me the newspaper after she'd read everything of political import. Headlines today read Sylvester Lovelace preaches against the ignoble practice of soul donation. Sermon transcribed on page 3. I'm going to go ahead and build the story first because I want to check. So let's say surface dweller poisoned probate. They told of inheritance. Let's see. Hope for wealth, maybe? Was surface dwelling relative of the Landows sought money. And returned to the surface and wanted inheritance. Motive wanted David to not inherit. Surface dwelling relative of the Landau sought money. David wanted to inherit an estate and funds that would otherwise come to David. Wait, oh. Oh, okay, so a surface dweller here. Culprit. That wouldn't go back to David. David wanted to inherit that would otherwise come to David. That doesn't make any sense, though. A surface-dwelling relative of the Landau sent word of David's inheritance, began planning a story. Now, this is complete now, so I could suggest that a surface dweller poisoned David by way of post. Is that what I'm basically saying here? Save and exit. Most of all wished for unknown benefits. David for a surface-dwelling relative of the Landows to fail in pursuit of freedom. Surface-dwelling relative of the Landows went into the market and returned with something utterly unreliable. They made false promises. Okay. Hold on. I can't. Well, let's also go ahead and throw the Carringhams in here. Poison Post. Wait, what? Most of all was for wealth, David for an inheritance. The Cunninghams committed the murder. David began planning to turn back to the surface. Then the Carringhams wanted David not to inherit. One letter to Carringhams family begged passage to the surface. It's a family. No, none of that actually works. Okay. Phoebe. Question of heirs. Is her family powerful? They were not to inherit because if he inherited, he would go back. We poisoned David. Let's see. Loved David. Lovers. Asked David to stay below. Parents wanted David not to inherit. Died. Okay. The question of the matter is, she loved him. Why would she poison him? Like maybe she overheard Milton talking about how life and death doesn't work. So like, hey, kill him long enough for him to not inherit, and then he's stuck down here with me. Maybe. Maybe. Although with Phoebe, she may have had access to the tainted drug. Probably not. Well, let's go with unknown methods. See if there we go. Question of method. Also say unknown purpose on both. And let's just start throwing some sent adulterous letter. Carringhams. Love David and sent adulterous letters. Wedded the relationship. Nothing there. They're to vengeance, maybe? David broke their heart with a vicious rejection. That'll do. Hope to end humiliation. Maybe. Vengeance. Oh. There. Oh, okay. Just maybe. But she did say. Let's just go back to this. Let's go back to the unknown purpose, unknown method. Just start throwing people in, see if I can't get any more things to pop up. The more stuff I have to ask about, the better. Okay, so if I go with Londoner as the culprit, I may say, yeah, I did it. I killed him. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Did quite a few things on TV already. What about Rachel? Nah. Okay. Let's see. Someone. Ah, question of identity. There we go. Swap this around, maybe get some information. Okay, so question of identity. By swaps. Just to get any more information. Okay, let's just go clear all, confirm, save and exit. Because if I go in here now, I should have under stories, question of motive. So basically, try to figure out Milton's motive. Archie did it on purpose and just get him. Just fuck it. He's not innocent. Kill him. Find out more information about surface dwellers' motive. Carringham poison post. That makes sense to me though. Like not wanting David to inherit, they would have no real reason for that. Question of heirs. Well, I think so. Question of lovers. That would be something to talk to Phoebe about. Method and identity. Okay. That will do for now. Honestly, I would love to keep playing this game, but my allergies are starting to get to me, and that's gonna affect the quality of my commentary a bit. So I'm just gonna go ahead and call it here before it gets too bad. I'll see you all next time. Have a nice day.